One Zambia, one nation. We're glad you could find time to watch the evening news. My name is Paulson Tindovi. We'll take a look at stories making headlines. Fire has burned to ashes some sections of the 3.5 million kwacha Maramba cultural village in Livingstone, Southern Province. Finance Minister Felix Mutati says the private sector contribution to economic growth has reduced by 30%. Criminals have snatched 100,000 kwacha from a Chinese national in Lusaka. And now the news in detail. Fire has burned to ashes a part of Maramba cultural village in Livingstone, Southern Province. By 16:30 hours this afternoon, the Livingstone Fire Brigade was still struggling to put out the fire, which affected some sections of the 3.5 million kwacha cultural village. The restaurant, kitchen, toilets and outside performing stage have completely been reduced to ashes at the facility, which is owned by the Ministry of Tourism and Arts. The facility was being leased out to Nyungu Mumi Cultural Nest. And Nyungu Mumi Cultural Nest, the marketing manager, Mary Fulilwa, says the fire started from the back of the kitchen, later spread to other parts of the village. Meanwhile, Southern Province Cultural Officer James Zimba has declined to comment before establishing the facts. Government has released 65 million kwacha to the contractors working on the Solwezi-Chingola road. Works and Supply Minister Ronald Chitotela says the money is meant for the two contractors to quickly work on some sections of the road, which would affect traffic flow during the rainy season. Mr. Chitotela was speaking in an interview after inspecting part of the roadworks together with Finance Minister Felix Mutati, who has promised to release more resources next month.
The poor state of the Solwezi-Chingola road has been an emotive topic for motorists and Solwezi residents. Some have lamented that the state of this road, which connects Copperbelt and northwestern provinces, is one of the major causes of accidents. Works and funding have been slow, and government now wants it worked on, hence releasing 65 million kwacha to the contractors.
We have released in the excess of 65 million. Of course, it has been a serious cry by the people of Northwestern. And of course, we believe and we agree with them that today, Northwestern, it is the second in Copperbelt. The resources that is coming from this region, we cannot give it a blind eye.
Minister of Works and Supply, Ronald Chitotela, is among the four ministers led by Finance Minister Felix Mutati, appreciating the challenges on the 160-kilometer stretch. The contractors have since been tasked to ensure portions that may affect movements in the rain season are worked on immediately.
But the challenge, I must state, is the period from which the rain is about to start. And my message to the contractors, let them pay attention to the dangerous points, to the points that may make this road not passable, so that they can make the road passable. Goods and services, the movements of people and the copper and minerals that are coming from Northwestern Province are not disrupted.
Commerce Minister Margaret Manakatwe does not have peaceful sleep over this road.
Anything that is going to impair movement of goods in and out of this zone, which is a huge economic zone, would give me a headache. And this is why I'm here, to ensure that there's smooth transfer between now and the rainy season, so that we don't disrupt business.
The Road Development Agency wants some stored works to resume now that funding is available.
Now that the contractor has been paid, it should be able to start immediately. These works must start immediately.
As part of his corporate social responsibility program, First Quantum Minerals says it is spending $2.5 million on tarring a 125-kilometer stretch, with 30 kilometers having been done so far. The three contractors are China Geo and two Zambian contractors, Bitcoin and Swift, who have since started working into the night to beat the rain season as government commits itself to releasing more funds by November to its movements on the road that transports over 60% of Zambia's copper. Brian Mwale, ZNBC News, Solwezi.
Mineral Finance Minister Felix Mutati says the private sector contribution to economic growth has reduced by 30%. The minister further says this will affect countries' tax revenues, which slowed down by 4%. Mr. Mutati has explained that President Edgar Lungu has therefore called for an integrated approach for different ministries to work together. He was speaking last night in Northwestern Province during a meeting with Solwezi residents.
16. The ability of government to be able to deliver infrastructure, particularly in Western Province, has been rather slow. So President Lungu said we must have an integrated approach. And this is why you see ministers from various ministries working as one. Because we believe working as one is what is going to unlock growth. We need to unlock growth. We need to boost tax revenues. And for us as government, we have said Northwestern Province will be a new source of increased taxes.
And Minister of National Development Planning, Lucky Mulusa, said government has shown commitment to develop the country. Mineral Commerce Minister Margaret Mwanakatwe is concerned with cheap imported goods which are affecting local industries. Health Minister Chitalu Chilufya says nurses recruitment exercise is expected to complete by next Friday. Dr. Chilufya has since called on relevant government departments involved in the recruitment process to work expeditiously and avoid unnecessary delays. The minister was speaking in Katete, Eastern Province, during the graduation ceremony of nurses and midwives from St. Francis, Mwami and Chipata schools of nursing. He explained that government is committed to human resource and infrastructure development in the sector in order to achieve improved access to health for the people. And Eastern Province Minister Makebi Zulu said government is working steadily to improve health standards in the region. Still in health news, over 16,000 HIV self-testing kits have been distributed countrywide since introduction in July this year. The HIV self-testing kits are being distributed by Society for Family Health, SFH. More in the following report. Continue.
This organization has introduced an HIV self-testing kit. This project, which has seen the distribution of these kits, has been conducted for 3 months now in Zambia. Society for Family Health has been doing this under the HIV Self-Testing Africa project. This project is aimed at increasing the number of people who know their HIV status by making it easy for anyone to be tested. These kits are made in such a way that one can conduct an HIV test on themselves with ease.
So in the HIV self-test kit, you will find 3 items. That will help you obviously do the test. Now we have the actual kit itself. That's the one that you use to actually swab. We've got some liquid there and the stand to hold the liquid bottle. So you need to make sure that you have a watch, because it takes about 20 minutes for results to come out, and you really need to time yourself for the time to get the actual results. So you put your liquid on a stand to make sure it's holding firmly. You get your swab stick and then swab. The way this is done is you need to make sure that surface close to where you get your CNT is where you're actually doing the swab. So you swab this through your gums all the way up. Using the same side, you actually take it down as well. Once that is done, you open your liquid. Actually, it's best to open this before you actually clip it to the stand, and then you put it into the liquid.
Society for Family Health Communications and Marketing Manager Mumbi Mutale says these kits act as an alternative for the traditional way of testing. He also said that it eliminates the element of waiting in queues to get tested as experienced in the traditional way of testing.
I think it's about giving options. I mean, if you look at the statistics, more than 50% of people do not know their status, according to some research that was done. And this was because of some of the barriers to our traditional way of testing. So I think this gives an opportunity for that type of target audience that is comfortable taking the test, on their own. And we also emphasize the need to link to care, because I think at the end of the day, that is, the goal, not just for a person to know their status, but obviously to link to care afterwards.
The introduction of this kit has brought mixed feelings among the general public, as the self-testing kit is done without counseling, and some people have shown concern over this.
It's a bit risky because I think they need counseling. Some people are not strong.
If a person was to be found HIV positive, maybe he may commit suicide because there's nobody to counsel that person. But again, on the other hand, it's okay in that in these hospitals there are queues and they're like, and then the issue of stigma. Somebody is going to see me at I'm positive or negative. But all in all, I can say, I think it's just best to be done by another person, so that in case of anything, at least you are helped.
However, others think it's a good idea to conduct a self-test.
I think it's a good idea. It's important that each person knows their status. So if one is not ready to go to the hospital to go and face somebody regarding their status, it's okay for them to test themselves. Yes. It's a good thing.
Matimba Handavile, TV2 News in Lusaka.
The Ministry of Finance has released over 13 million kwacha counterpart funding towards World Bank funded projects in the Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock. Fisheries and Livestock Permanent Secretary David Chamulenge has confirmed, saying this will allow for completion of various projects which had stalled. Dr. Chamulenge was speaking today in Choma, Southern Province, after inspecting the 3.2 million kwacha Regional Veterinary Laboratory construction project. We'll take a break, and still to come, Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia calls for strict regulation for churches in the country, plus First Lady Esther Lungu has praised organizations helping women in society. Stay tuned. Thank you very much for still staying with us. We continue with the rest of the news. Criminals have snatched 100,000 kwacha from a Chinese national in Lusaka. The incident happened yesterday at Monday Hill Footbridge on Great East Road as Guo Tao was coming from the bank to collect money for workers' salaries for a named company. Police spokesperson Esther Katongo has confirmed the incident to TV2 News, saying the criminals snatched the money from Guo Tao's vehicle when he stopped after tricking him that the vehicle had a puncture. Meanwhile, 2 vehicles have been stolen in separate incidences in Lusaka and Kafue. Ms. Katongo says both vehicles were operating as taxis at the time of being stolen.
What happened was there was a vehicle that was following the vehicle that he was driving, and the occupants there, who were 3 in number, started signaling to the same Chinese national to say his vehicle, the vehicle had a tire puncture. So this made the same Chinese national to stop so that he can check the same problem which these people were signaling to. And when he stopped, even these criminals, they also stopped. They were driving a motor vehicle, Toyota Alex ALP 3190. So they also stopped on pretext that they wanted to give assistance to the Chinese national. But apparently what happened was one of the same occupants, the criminals, went to the driver's seat and got the money, and that's how they sped off. So we have instituted investigations in the matter.
Lands Minister Jean Kapata has threatened to revoke a title deed given to a private individual who is building a house on land belonging to Lusaka Water and Storage Company. The land accommodates boreholes that supply water to Lusaka's Ibex, part of Woodlands and Nyumbayanga areas. And the Lusaka Water and Storage Company has regretted that the facility meant to service a huge population has been encroached on.
The land meant for the service provider has been encroached on, and a structure has been built on top of the main water pipe supplying water to Nyumbayanga, Ibex Hill and part of Woodlands. This is not all. The structure has been built next to the borehole that supplies water to close to 500,000 Lusaka residents. The structure will no doubt contaminate the borehole, thereby putting the health of 500 Lusaka residents at risk. The structure has reached an advanced stage and it has all the legal documentation needed from Ministry of Lands. But Minister of Lands says such anarchy will not be tolerated.
First of all, you know, these water, the boreholes, and people are building near where the boreholes are. It will mean there will be contamination of underground water, and we are not going to allow that. So come Monday, I'm going to give you instructions for the officers to get on the ground and verify what is going on. And if indeed that person has built near where the boreholes are, and the people give the land from Lands Ministry, we just have to demolish that house. Because one person against the community, it cannot work.
Okay, and what happens to the title deed? Because that person has already
a title deed can be cancelled. A title deed can be cancelled. We'll give him an ultimatum, and the title deed can be cancelled.
The land might look idle, but it houses the boreholes for Lusaka Water and Sewerage Company. And what has shocked the utility firm is that the person who has disturbed the company facilities has legal papers.
For us as a utility, we are really disappointed, because what will happen now is that once this structure is allowed to go up, it means that the people of Nyumbayanga, Ibex Hill, and about half of Woodlands will never have water, and they won't have water. And once we lose this source, that's the end.
If nothing is done, Lusaka Water and Sewerage Company might lose this facility, as this is not the first time it is happening. A case in point is area near Unza, where the boreholes were encroached on, and since then the eastern part of Lusaka has been experiencing water problems. Delphista Lungu, TV2 News in Lusaka.
The Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia, EFZ, has called for strict regulation to churches in the country. EFZ Executive Director Pokota Mwanza says it would even be better for purposes of regulation to make it mandatory for all churches to affiliate to national mother bodies. Reverend Mwanza has explained that it is worrying that some church gatherings are being advertised with more pronouncement of events like miracles, which is wrong. He was speaking to TV2's 7 Days Today, a news and current affairs program.
We will prefer that the government introduces a system where all churches are made to be mandatory to belong to one church mother body of their doctrinal preference or identity. Because then we will not have all these churches that are just masquerading as churches and as pastors and doing their own things, who are not accountable to a mother body. So when we make it mandatory, it means that the mother bodies can regulate them and also can hold them accountable for any misconduct or false teachings. That's the first thing. We strongly think that in this country, you must appreciate the freedom that we are enjoying for religion and freedom of worship can also be abused. Because a person can call a snake a god, and they'll still be free because that is their religion. Or they can eat grass and they'll still be free. So we need to have a mechanism that people are not being abused. And if you notice, in this country, even among local pastors, because of desperation for money, and also because of desperation for miracles, people are being made to pay for all sorts of healings, all sorts of breakthroughs, all sorts of needs. And because of that, there are sexual abuses, and there are money laundering cases where people are just getting huge amounts of money.
Where is the church?
First Lady Esther Lungu says women have a special calling in society. Mrs. Lungu has since praised organizations that have taken up the role of helping women in society. The First Lady was speaking in Lusaka today during a fundraising breakfast for charity work and loyalty for the Catholic Women's League Roma branch.
You support Madam Chairperson to Little RCC Community School, Mother Teresa Hospice in Tendere, Our Lady's Hospice in Kalingalinga, the Cheshire Home for the Aged in Chawana, the Female Ward at Chainaha Hospital, the Poor Clares Monastery and the female inmates of the Lusaka Central Prison, just to mention a few. You are truly living by your motto of charity work and loyalty, and I'm proud of you, and so are the communities that you are serving.
And Commerce Minister Margaret Mwanakatwe said her ministry is serious with President Edgar Lungu's call regarding industrialization in the country. Mrs. Mwanakatwe has explained that economic empowerment through industrialization will help transform the country, especially through value addition. The minister was speaking in a speech read on her behalf by CEEC Director General Likando Mukumbota. And Catholic Women's League Roma branch chairperson Anastasia Muhango says her group is raising resources because of the concern it has for the vulnerable in communities. We take a second break, and still to come in foreign news and sport news. Stay tuned. We continue with the rest of the news. France's president has urged Britain to take its share of responsibility for migrant children who remain in Gallas after the Django camp was cleared. Francois Hollande said 1,500 unaccompanied minors who were still in the port city would be taken to accommodation centers very shortly. Migrants fleeing war and poverty had used the sprawling Django site as a staging post to try and reach the UK. The UK has so far agreed to take in about 250 of the children from there. The Django had been seen as key symbol of Europe's failure to deal with the worst migrant crisis since World War II. And at least 1,500 minors have been staying at a special container camp at the site, but it has been full, and many children have also reportedly been sleeping rough. In sports news, 2015 FARS Super League champions Zesco United have been held to a 1-0 draw by Green Buffaloes in a game played today in Lusaka. Buffaloes managed to prevent Zesco United from earning 3 points as they attempt to close in current league leaders Zanaco and second placed Nkana. In other results of the Super League games played today, Nkwazi have managed a 2-1 away win to Nchanga Rangers, while Mufulira Wanderers were held to a goalless draw by Lumwana Radiants. Keto Giants Power Dynamos have posted a 5-1 win over Nakambala Leopards, while Lusaka Tigers failed to use home ground advantage, succumbing to a 2-1 loss to Green Eagles. As we end the news, the headlines again. Fire has burned to ashes some sections of the 3.5 million Kwacha Maramba Cultural Village in Livingstone, Southern Province. By 16:30 hours this afternoon, the Livingstone Fire Brigade was still struggling to put out the fire. Finance Minister Felix Mutati says the private sector contribution to economic growth has reduced by 30%. The minister further says this will affect country's tax revenues, which will slow down by 4%. Criminals have snatched the 100,000 kwacha from a Chinese national in Lusaka. The incident happened yesterday at Monday Hill Footbridge on Great East Road as Gutao was coming from the bank to collect money for workers' salaries for a named company. That's what the news could accommodate at 18 hours. The next news bulletin will be at 20 hours. My name is Paul Sentindovi, and on behalf of the entire production crew, it's bye for now, and God bless.